Hello. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Michelle Shimke, and I am the part-time school social worker at Rock Creek and Bethany Elementary Schools. I'm here today to give a little bit of a presentation about some anxiety that I know our students are feeling regarding COVID. So please make sure that you watch this video with your child so that you can be there as a support. And then towards the end of the video, I just have some things for parents only, some resources and some tips on if your child is not sleeping well. In your school's newsletter, along with this presentation, you should have my slide deck so that you can easily access those resources, along with some mindful breathing cards that you can use as well. So let me just share my screen so I can have the presentation up and running. So today we are here to talk about COVID-19 and some big feelings about that. Remember that it is okay to be scared, it is okay to have anxiety, but it is important that we make sure we tell a trusted adult, such as our parents, guardians, brother, sister, grandma, grandpa, whoever we feel can be there to support us. Now, I first want to start by talking about the fact that pandemics are not new. So as you can see in this timeline, which is from the CDC website, we've been having pandemics since the beginning of human history. Humans have been getting sick since the beginning of time. And I don't say this to scare you, but to help you know that this is nothing new. Pandemics have been around much longer than we have. Luckily, we have awesome doctors and scientists that work hard every day to create vaccines and medicines to help end pandemics, just like how we have the vaccine now. It takes time for humans to become strong against new illnesses, such as COVID-19. But it will happen. So as you can see on the screen, and feel free to pause at any time to ask your parent questions, there have been lots of different pandemics, but the human body is really amazing, and we built up what's called an immune system and an immune response against these diseases and illnesses. Since COVID-19 is so new, it will take some more time for our bodies to resist this illness, but our bodies are always working towards this. So as you can see, we no longer have smallpox or the yellow fever or Spanish flu. Those are just some examples that are on your screen right now, but we don't have those around anymore. And we also someday will look back and there won't be COVID-19 anymore, or it won't be the way it is now. So even though it's hard now, it won't be forever. I know it feels like it, and it does to me a lot too. So you're probably thinking, who cares? I'm still scared. And that's okay. Sometimes I'm scared. Sometimes I'm anxious. And that's okay. But what matters is that we work through it and that we feel the feelings we have in a supportive, healthy way, like I said, with a parent or a loved one. So again, I would like everyone to pause the video in just a moment. And sorry, that's my printer calibrating. And I want you to tell your parent what it feels like in your body when you're scared. So some things that people have told me when they feel scared, their bodies feel warm, they feel hot, they feel tight, heavy, hard to breathe. You might feel energized. You might feel slow. Fear, anxiety, all these feelings, they feel different in each of our bodies. So I would like everyone to take just a moment to pause the video and please tell your trusted adult that you're with how you feel in your body when these emotions are happening. And then play it when you're ready. All right. I hope that you were able to share some great things with your trusted adult that you are with about how these feelings might come up in your body. And it's important that we know what that feels like in our body so that we can know it's coming, right? If we know what it feels like in our body to be overwhelmed, to be fearful, then we can say, oh, this tightness in my chest, making it hard to breathe, it means I'm afraid and that I need to tell someone and I need to talk about it, or I need to do one of my coping skills, which we'll get to. Something important I want to talk about are our thoughts. So we all have lots of racing thoughts sometimes, right? Racing thoughts mean that it might be really hard for our minds to stop thinking constantly, and it can feel very overwhelming. But I want to tell you that we are not our thoughts. Sometimes our thoughts can be scary, they can be overwhelming, they can be really fast, they can be dark and hurtful. But again, the good news is you are not your thoughts. You are separate from your thoughts. And there is a way for us to see our thoughts in our mind as something separate than who we are inside. So now we're going to watch a little video explaining this.
You are not your thoughts. Every day, we have thousands of thoughts, emotions, urges, memories, and feelings. From the time we wake up in the morning, all throughout the day, to when we lay down to sleep at night. No matter who we are, we all have thoughts swirling around in our heads. We even think and feel in our dreams. Often, we don't realize how many thoughts we are having, and we get lost in them. Sometimes we're not even aware that we're thinking. We seem to be swimming in a sea of our own thoughts. When we are surrounded by our thoughts, it's easy to get caught up in them and react automatically, sometimes in ways we don't even mean to react. We might hold on to some thoughts, even when we don't want to, and it can feel like our thoughts are overwhelming. But thoughts are not facts, and they are not always true, even if they seem to be. Next time you feel caught up in your thoughts, try paying attention to them with curiosity and not judgment. It doesn't matter if they are true or false, right or wrong, just notice them. How fast or slow are they? Are they all very different from each other? Or perhaps you're having the same ones over and over again. Maybe they're even focused on one theme. Some of these thoughts may be unwanted. But instead of reacting to them, notice what happens to your body sensations and your emotions when you have these thoughts. Perhaps you will notice if they are bringing you closer to or further away from what is important to you or the goals you have for yourself. Observing your thoughts is a skill that takes practice, like playing an instrument. Sometimes it'll be easy for you to be able to notice and respond to your thoughts. Other times, you might have to work really hard to get some distance from them. You might even have to keep letting go of the same unwanted thought over and over again. But don't give up. Keep trying. Like waves in the ocean, thoughts are always passing through our minds and can affect how we feel and what we do. But they are not us, and we are not our thoughts. Learning to be aware of our thoughts can allow us to respond with more choice instead of reacting in ways we may regret. Observing our thoughts gives us some distance to see how our thoughts make us feel. We can then choose to act in ways that bring us closer to the things and the people that are important to us. Remember, you are not your thoughts. Try observing your thoughts with curiosity. Try it right now.
All right. So we learned, we move that there. There we go. We learned again that we are not our thoughts, that we are separate from our thoughts. And our thoughts are like waves in the ocean when we go to the beach or the coast. They're also like a river if you've ever been to a river, and they just float on by. They won't last forever. And the more that we can sit with our feelings, sit with our thoughts in a still way and listen to ourselves and see our thoughts in our mind, the easier it will be to not be overwhelmed by those thoughts. So that is called mindfulness, friends, and that's a coping skill. So now we're going to talk about some different ways that we can cope with these big feelings that we're having. What does it mean to cope? It means we learn how to handle and deal with really big problems and difficulties in our lives by doing things that make us feel better in a healthy way, in an appropriate way. So, as you can see, we have some healthy ways to cope with our big feelings on the screen, and we'll talk about each one. So, I'm going to start with this one right here, labeling the feeling. That's the first thing to do. When we can label it, we can tame it. So it's like when we name a dog or name a cat or name a pet. When they have a name, we can teach them things, right? So when we can name what we feel inside, we can teach ourselves how to handle that big feeling. So some ways we can label our emotions are by drawing how we feel, writing it in a journal, talking about it with a trusted adult, making a story about it. There's lots of different ways. And if you have other ones, please tell your trusted adult now. Another thing we can do next to our label the feeling is positive self-talk. So that means that we say positive things to ourselves like, I will be okay. I am strong. I am safe. My family is here to protect me. This won't last forever. You can pick and choose different positive things to say to yourself, kind things that you might say to a friend that isn't feeling good. Pretend you are a friend to yourself and say what you might tell a friend when they feel bad. You can write in a journal, which we talked about as well. And if you can't write, that's okay too. You can't write yet, but you will someday. But if you can't write yet, you can always do artwork. And this might be drawing, doing a craft, painting, knitting. There's lots of different artwork you can do. Another coping skill, it has yoga on here, but we can do any sort of exercise. Any way to move our body is really, really good for us. When we move our bodies, it helps create chemicals in our brain that make us happier. Really, that's true. So we can move our bodies by playing a sport, running, doing yoga, taking a walk. Any single thing that moves our bodies is good for us. The next thing, you could play a game. If you have someone in your house, you could ask them to play a game. If you're alone or they can't right that minute, ask if you can play a game on your tablet, iPad, computer, phone, or if you don't have any of those things, that's okay. You can make up games and find some different things to play by yourself, like outside of a play pretend game. There's lots of different things you can do. You can read. That's another thing you can do. You can do really anything that your family does to help each other feel better. That could be storytelling, watching a movie together. Families do lots of things together. So those are lots of coping strategies are what they're called. And you can pick and choose whatever you want. And the last thing we'll talk about is deep breathing. So we are going to practice together some deep breathing. I have a triangle on the screen right now, and you can use your finger to touch the screen as we do it. It says start here. So we'll start here, and together we're going to breathe in for 3 seconds. Hold for 3 seconds, 2, 3, and breathe out for 3. Okay, we'll do it again, but I will just count in my head and you count in your head. Breathe in. Deep breathing is a way for us to slow down our minds so that we can do what it talked about in the video and really see our thoughts and realize that they are not who we are deep down inside. So this particular breathing triangle, parents, if you Google mindful breathing and just go to images, it'll pop up immediately. I also, in your newsletter that you found this recording on, there should be a link to mindful breathing cards. If for whatever reason it doesn't work, please message me on Parent Square. And you can always print these things. And if you don't have a printer, no problem. They can just go ahead and touch it on the screen of whatever they're using. And if you don't have a screen, all you have to do is do it in the air. It's just a triangle. So breathing in for 3 up, holding for 3 down, and across 3, breathe out. I highly suggest that you practice these breathing exercises regularly. My favorite thing to do is to do it in the morning and then at night. It helps me to keep my mind calm and in the very moment that we're in. So I'm not thinking about all the things I have to do or that I'm afraid of. It helps me really stay in the moment. All right. We're going to watch another video that does a great job about talking about our big feelings.
There's a story, usually attributed to the Native American tradition, which illuminates different ways of paying attention. An elder, talking to a child, says, "I have 2 wolves fighting in my heart. One wolf is fearful, vengeful, envious, resentful, and deceitful. The other wolf is compassionate, loving, generous, truthful, and peaceful." The child asks, "Which wolf will win the fight?" The elder responds, "The one I feed." That doesn't mean we try to deny or hurt or kill the angry wolf. If we did that, we'd end up in a long battle, all the while somehow making that wolf more powerful through our hostility and fear. Hating that wolf sucks the strength right out of us. Instead, we calmly pay attention to the angry wolf and let go of believing they have the answers. If we can do that, they end up lying down next to us, no longer an enemy. We help strengthen the kind and loving wolf, giving it nourishment and support so that we can follow it. That peaceful wolf can become our steady companion and show us the way through all kinds of different life experiences. Restful or chaotic, enjoyable or disappointing experiences may come and go, but we can have a guide with us through it all. This is what mindfulness can help you do. Mindfulness allows us to see our thoughts and feelings as they are beginning. It's very powerful to know what we're feeling as we're feeling it, know what we're thinking as we're thinking it. With mindfulness, we can choose what will strengthen and bring into action, and we can choose what we will gently let go of. We don't have to be at the mercy of old habits or old ways of thinking or old ways of being. We are empowered. It just takes practice.
All right, so there were a lot of big words in there, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about what that meant. So we had the 2 big wolves, right? We had the scary, mean wolf, and then we had the nice, kind, compassionate wolf. So we should never fight the mean wolf inside of us. That will just make it bigger. So that means that when we feel scared and anxious, we don't want to try and keep it inside and fight it. That will not help it. What we want to do is use those coping strategies that we talked about, and we want to build up the happiness inside of us. And then when we have those scary, big feelings, we sit with them, we listen to them, we do not fight them. And the more and more we can do that, the less and less that those big, scary feelings will come, and the less it will feel overwhelming. And the more that we can do things that make us feel good and those coping skills that we feed and build up the good wolf, then we just like it said in the video, we will have a guide to get us through those hard times. All right, so next we can go ahead and excuse our student friends. Great job, great listening. Make sure to ask your parents any questions you might have. And parents, we're going to talk a little bit about some things you can do if your child is having a hard time sleeping. So go ahead and pause the video until your child is able to go do something else, or you can come back to this later. Okay, so parents, I'm hearing a lot that we're having our kiddos having a tough time sleeping, or even maybe you are having a tough time sleeping. So we're going to talk a little bit about what studies and research has shown some of the best ways for us to get a good night's sleep are. So the first one is to set the mood. And so that means 20 to 45 minutes before bed, establish a relaxing routine with about 3 relaxing activities. So this could be taking a bath, reading a calming bedtime story, singing a lullaby. If you can't do all this with your child, I get it, you have a lot going on. Have your child do some calming things. It might be watching a calming show. It might be having them draw. There's lots of different things that they can do on their own too. Avoid electronics. So I did say watching a movie, but we do want to try to avoid too much close to the face screen time. So if they are watching a movie, it's best to have them, at a TV far away, not on an iPad close to their face. The blue from the electronic screens can help keep us awake for longer than we want if it's too close to bedtime. Set a pattern when you're not in the room when they fall asleep. So that means you don't want to be in the room all the time when your kid's falling asleep, or else they will depend on that. So having them, again, do some of those things by themselves is good practice. If they need you there in that room, do what you need to do and just slowly wean yourself off. Keeping limits to the bedtime routine and just making sure you're positively reinforcing that behavior before bed is really important. And then rather than leaving your child to cry out, so that's if your kiddo needs you there to fall asleep, you can gradually wean your child off having your presence to fall asleep, like I said. And then this will allow them to learn some self-soothing techniques. And then avoid giving them too much attention as well is important. If they complain about going to bed or any other resistant behavior going to bed, they want your attention. So if they're resisting, give them that space, tell them this is what we need to do. This is the expectation, and do your best to remain calm, but also give yourself self-compassion. None of us are perfect. If you're really struggling to get your kid in bed, a reward system can be good. If you have a behavior chart at home or something like that, that's always an option. It is good practice to spend at least a few minutes before bedtime spending time with your child. That can help them feel safe and relaxed. You can ask them about how they're feeling, about how their day went. You can do a breathing exercise together, things like that. Make sure that the bed is only used for sleeping so that they're not playing games in it, anything like that during the day. Avoid the child going to bed hungry or too full. Studies have shown that that can really affect our sleep. No caffeine, especially in the afternoon and evening. This is mostly for us adults. And then for kids, definitely keep sugar away in the evening. Make their room as safe and comfortable for the child as possible. And then some questions to ask yourself: is the room quiet? I know this is not always possible, right? But do your best if you can even get like a noise canceling, something like a fan of some sort to get some noise in there if it is louder outside of their room. It is nice to keep their room slightly cooler. Studies show 65 degrees is like the happy spot, but you can do what you need to do. And then make sure that the child's bed is not overloaded with toys because that can become distracting. I know some kids feel really safe with their stuffed animals. So, of course, do what you think is best, but that's just some advice I read about. And then a big thing, do not use your child's room for a timeout as best you can. I know that this is pretty common and understandable, especially if we don't have a lot of room in the house, but we want that room to be a safe space for them so that they can feel good about going to sleep. All right, some resources for you. YouTube, that's where I got both of those videos. Just YouTubing mindfulness for kids, breathing exercises for kids. I can't tell you how much stuff will come up. It's really great. Calm.com and Insight Timer, those are both free and they have a lot of great stuff for adults and kids. Yoga with Adrienne, she has a lot of free stuff on YouTube, also for kids. And again, you can just Google yoga for kids or movement breaks for kids, and there'll be tons of stuff. I have a mindfulness exercises for kids link. Again, you can find this in the slide deck that was hopefully provided in your newsletter. If not, reach out to me on Parent Square. And then I have a link. Some fifth graders actually wrote a book about how COVID-19 is affecting them. And I think it sounds amazing. So if you want to learn more about that, go for it. And again, I am here for all of my students, all of their families, whatever you need. If you're in need of housing support, food, outside referrals, whatever you need, I am here for you. So please feel free to message me on Parent Square. That's definitely the quickest, easiest, and fastest way to get a hold of me. All right, I look forward to continuing to meet you all, maybe in person someday, but over the phone, via Parent Square, and in other ways. Keep being amazing parents because you truly, truly are. And I hope that you got some tools for your toolbox. Thanks and take care.